Hey guys, I'm Alexis.
I'm Asha.
And we're your hosts.
Every week, we're going to be bringing you a new episode where we interview staff, fellow students, discuss current events, our interests, and life at CSUF.
This is the Honors Podcast.
All right, Alexis, do you want to start us off?
I will. Welcome back to another week of the Honors Podcast, and thank you for tuning in.
For this week's episode, we are happy to announce that we will be speaking with Dr. Carolyn Thomas, who is CSUF's new Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs.
Hi. Dr. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us this week. We are so excited to have you.
We've read your bio online, and we're excited to see that you graduated from Cal State Fullerton. How does it feel to be back?
It feels really great to be back. I love the people that I'm working with, and I think that same sense that I had when I was a student at Fullerton, that it's a place where faculty just really care about students, where people care about each other. And even though, it was large then, it's much larger now. There's still that sense of really being connected to people. And right now I get to work with people who are truly in this for students and their success. So I just feel so grateful, like I kind of won the job lottery, ending up back here.
Because right now there's 40,000 students here. So when you were here, were there still that many? I'm sure there were less.
There were fewer students, and I think, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it was quite a bit less because I graduated in 1994. But it always felt big to me. It was really a commuter campus. I was fortunate that I lived in the dorms, like the very first dorms, I think, that were built, that were really small apartments.
Alexis and I lived in the housing area too, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I lived in the newer buildings. And then, Asha, didn't you live in the apartments?
Yeah, I lived in the residence halls, and then I also we both lived on the honors floor, which is exciting. And then we also lived in the single apartments. But I think, Dr. Thomas, when you were here, you must have lived in the double apartments, like the oldest.
Oldest. Yes, there's like a little kitchen and three different rooms that had two people in each, and so six girls in a suite. And I worked at the Marriott, the one that's right next to campus, when it opened. I was there as part of the group that opened it, and so I always had this sense of just being tons of people, walking across the big parking lot to get over to work, and walking through the Arboretum. You could kind of go through this nice little space, but then just a big, overwhelming campus. And I was just so lucky. I found a small home through American Studies. I was a President's Scholar. I started as a music major, just had these really great experiences left me feeling like, if I could ever come back and contribute and pay that forward, I wanted to do it.
Full circle.
That's really cool. What type of music were you interested in at first?
Well, I came to campus to be a high school music director. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, so I was in the music education program, and I sang and played the piano.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah. I was a high school band student, so whenever I hear someone's music related, I always have to ask what they played.
Yeah. It was a great experience. I figured out maybe in my second year that I loved working with people and groups, and trying to get that same experience from when you perform a piece of music, with a collective. But I was kind of more interested in doing that in the classroom, as a teacher of subjects. But music's still a great hobby.
So you transitioned from music to, what did you end up changing your major to?
Oh my gosh, it's so many majors. I was that first gen student that really should have seen an advisor, but I didn't. I didn't know about that. So I was a music major, and then I was an international business major, and then I studied abroad, and then I was a German major, and then I was an American Studies major. So I graduated in my 5th year with American Studies and German.
Wow. It's a plethora.
I wandered. It was a good wandering, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll definitely expose you to all sorts of different things. Well, kind of coming back to your new job here at Cal State Fullerton, have you had any favorite moments since you started?
I think my favorite moment is probably maybe last week when I worked with so many different people to make the change to credit, no credit for this semester to extend the time that students could choose to take courses credit, no credit. And it was just such a great experience because, students brought the question forward, and then I ended up talking with my colleagues in the Academic Senate and other administrators and the deans and ASI, and there were a lot of different thoughts about it. And ultimately, we all had the sense that we really want to know, we really want students to know that we empathize, and like this is just a really tough time, and at the same time, really wanted to make sure students didn't end up graduating without grades, which could happen if you took all your classes credit, no credit. So it's just getting that place where we could extend the amount of time students have to take credit, no credit classes, that you can choose it now all the way till the end of the semester. And we did that collaboratively with the chair of the board of ASI and the academic senate chair, and with me. And so many people moved mountains to like change the technology and work with the advisors and get the message out. It was really inspiring.
Mm-hmm. And we sort of touched upon this just now, how it is really interesting that you've experienced Cal State Fullerton as both a student and now as a provost. In what way do you think you've seen the biggest change within CSUF in comparison to your time as an undergrad here?
I think that now Fullerton is it's a much more inclusive place. I don't remember when I was here that was a discussion, and now it's Orange County, and I think that a lot of people are aware of kind of the long history of Orange County, and the effort to bring diverse students to our campus and faculty and make sure that they feel that they belong, and that we have faculty who all have the skills to teach students in the classroom equitably, regardless of their background. It's a work in progress, but the commitment to it on this campus, I think, is a really big difference. And maybe that's just because as a student, it wasn't something that, I was aware of in the same ways, but I don't, and of course it's virtual, so I'm here in my house, Zooming. I haven't actually been on campus, but I'm in so many meetings on this topic, and I see so many people struggling to find a way to really create a community that feels as inclusive as our intentions are for it. And that feels like an important difference.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we also read a little bit about your research. Can you tell us more about that and what inspired you to pursue it?
Sure. I've written a couple of books. One is on the history of weight machines and different ideas that people had about how they could build bodies in this country, but like literally build energy inside your body. So there were, these old people used to drink water that was, I'm serious, laced with radium, and they used to plug themselves into like electric lamps with like little belts around them, and then also work out with machines. We still work out with machines, don't so much do those other things. And then I wrote a book about the history of artificial sweetener, and I think part of what motivated me to look at this relationship between technology and our bodies and how we think about health is that my mom had polio. And so growing up with a disabled parent, I think I was always kind of aware that, bodies limited you, and that efforts to get over those limitations, were really personal and painful. And so I gravitated towards these kinds of projects. And then my dad also was a competitive weightlifter.
Wow.
So yeah, there were a lot of mornings in my childhood where I'd wake up to the sounds of someone lifting way too much weight on the bench press. Yeah. I had a student once say that all research projects are really, in some way, about a question that's very personal for people.
Yes.
And I think that that's true.
I completely agree. I'm a senior right now in the program, so I'm doing my senior thesis, and I literally combined every like deep personal question that I wanted to figure out in my life, and I made that the topic of my thesis. I just combined all of it together. It's about leadership, it's about female empowerment, and it's about psychology and mindsets. And I was like, let's just jam it all together and let's try to find an answer. So I think it's really interesting that you could take a tie from your childhood and a personal interest and then actually make a real contribution with that. That's really cool.
Thank you. I'm glad that you got to do it too. You know, it's such a sitting down and writing and working on something like that. It's creative and frustrating. You know, it's like hard and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's especially satisfying when at the end of the day, it's also about how you grow as a person, right? Not just kind of the things that you end up that you could teach others.
Right. It's a craft. And I've learned patience, and I've learned to really just fall in love with the process of discovering different ways to find answers and not really being so focused on the outcome or the result, but like, what is the process of what I'm doing? And it's interesting. I didn't think that I would be so intrigued by that part, but it is very cool.
Good for you. It sounds like you've had a really good education experience.
Cal State Fullerton is great. I will always rave about it. Outside of work and research, what are some of your favorite hobbies and activities?
Well, I have 3 kids and a fantastic husband. So and fantastic kids. They're fantastic. Just in case they listen to this, they'll be like, why is he fantastic? And I love spending time with them. They're very playful and silly and smart and funny. I also really enjoy getting out and getting exercise. So we cycle and run, and I swim some mornings. And then fortunately, because now we're all at home, I really like to cook. So that's one of my favorite things, is just when the work day is done, to go inside and be able to cook dinner and put on some music and just enjoy, making the house smell nice and having that transition.
Do you have
Go ahead, Alexis.
Do you have like a favorite meal that you like to cook for your family, or does it depend?
Probably, I like making them happy, and my 8-year-old son has very definite ideas about what he wants to eat, doesn't want to eat. So I would say probably tacos. That would be my favorite thing to make, because first of all, it's fun because it's a taco. It's crunchy, and he has this kind of cool Toronto. It's a present from my mom. It's this plastic T-Rex, and it holds tacos.
Oh, wow.
Like, it has no value. There's no function to this thing. It is seriously a plastic T-Rex in a box that holds 2 tacos for a child. And taking it out and putting those little tacos in the T-Rex and just sitting it down in front of him, that really makes me smile.
You should join Cooking with the Titan. They have the alumni channel. They have a YouTube channel, and they have a bunch of Titans come on. Like, we've had the president of the university and a bunch of people come in and do like a cooking tutorial. I think that'd be fun to have you there.
I would love to do that. I could take my T-Rex out of the pantry.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, we also wanted to take a moment to address the pandemic. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but since you began your journey in July, only a few months into quarantine, how has it affected your work?
Well, it's affected everything about work, and but I think maybe one thing comes to mind especially, and that is that it's made me connect to people in a different way. It's interesting being on Zoom, right? You can watch people's reactions. Like, obviously we miss so much. We don't walk into the room together. We can't have conversations in the hallway. We just come into the space, and then we have this amount of time to do something together or learn something about each other. But there is this way that on Zoom you can also pay attention to people's facial expressions. You can look at each person, and it's not like when you're in a room physically and people might think that's a little bit odd. Like, why is she staring at me? No one really knows who you're looking at. And so part of what I've enjoyed is, even, I'm, as the provost, I'm often leading the conversations in the rooms. But my style of leadership is much more distributed, and it's about everyone's voice and coming to the best conclusion together. And I really have liked being able to just watch people and then be able to kind of say, what do you, I think I see that you might have a thought about that. Do you mind sharing? And so maybe it can increase our empathy for each other in this space. But I think the downside of it is definitely it's hard to know how much is too much work, because we show up. I don't really know what each of you went through today to get to this moment. You don't know what I went through or what's going on in the backgrounds. So there's, in a way, we can kind of pretend like everything's normal, expect the same thing from each other, have just as many hours of meetings or classes or all of those things. So you have to keep in mind that it's just an extra lift, so many lifts that we're all going through with our families, maybe at home, and the stress of all this. So I think that that's one of the things. It's affected how I work, because I realize I have to actually be very humane about how much I can take on and how much other people can take on, because there's so many things I want to contribute to Fullerton and things I see that we could improve. But we're human first, and we have to take care of each other. And that means going slower than some of us are used to.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. I never thought about sort of the empathy side of it and actually being able to see the people's faces and their reactions. It might be because as a student, a lot of the times students will just shut their camera off in class. But speaking of that, what advice do you have for students who are trying to navigate virtual learning right now?
This won't go on forever. It really won't go on forever. It's okay to be sad. This is really hard. Don't let it overwhelm you. Try to find a skill or something that you can build or learn or know. Even it's just like in a small corner of your day, something you want to cook, or that you really want to try meditating for more than 4 days before giving up again, or you really, like these little tiny skills. I mean, you could be really practical about it and say, I want to work on a language, or I want to learn to use, an app or a tool I don't know how to use, because the skills that you build will be valuable after this is over. But I don't want it to sound like it's that it has to be that productive.
Yeah.
Like just keep yourself working on small things you can try and feeling a sense of accomplishment around it. And then I think for me personally, exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just can't stress enough how important it's been to have 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour of just movement. I tend to be kind of cerebral, and this pandemic has really taught me that we have bodies and they really have an impact on our state of mind. And just getting out, even if you're alone and, being socially distanced, just being out and moving is so important.
Yeah, I've been watching all of the YouTube tutorials, video, workout videos, workout with me videos. And I've really enjoyed them. It's funny. I almost enjoy it more than I enjoy going to the gym. It's kind of nice to be able to just run in my neighborhood and see people from afar. And, while I'm running, we make eye contact and we wave at each other, and then I'll parents' backyard and I'll be in the nature as I'm working out. It's sort of challenged me to appreciate things and do things in a different way that I wouldn't even know I enjoy it a little bit more than the other way of doing things.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. It breaks you out of an old pattern. And I think for the first several months, that was just, for me, really disorienting because I missed that pattern. And now at this point, I'm realizing, I'm not going to probably go back to doing that indoor activity that I did. Or, I really like taking a walk at the same time every day because I see that neighbor. And we're getting to know each other through our waves.
Yeah. And I like sitting in a park with my friends, maybe not so far away when this is over, but sitting and drinking a coffee at a park with a friend is a beautiful thing that I never used to do before.
Yeah. And the other thing is check on people, which I know you are probably much better at doing even than I am. I know that my daughter in college was just really connected to her friends. They know how much they need each other right now. But even just checking on someone, 15-minute conversation, it leaves me feeling just so much better myself, even though what I thought I was doing was reaching out to see how they were.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Well, on a lighter note, I think everyone is dreaming about going back to campus. What are you most looking forward to when we finally get to go back?
Student performances and student events and athletics. I am so excited to have CODA, the College of the Arts, and just the amazing student groups and the singers and the performances. That was a big part in wanting to come back. And we live in Fullerton, so we're really close. And that's the idea. We'll all be on campus and we'll be able to go and see our students doing so many fantastic things because there's such talent. So, yeah.
Yeah, as part of last year, I took a theater class, and as part of the class, we went to all the performances, and I was stunned at how amazing the performances were. Because I watched it thinking, oh, this is gonna be like a high school performance, and I was blown away. It was like a Broadway level performance to me. I was amazed.
Yeah, it's not your everyday performances that are happening. I mean, the extraordinary talent of our students and the students in that college, I've been watching their performances online and things and just thinking, oh, I want to be in the room. I want to feel that feeling when that music and that sound and the visuals wash over.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the future, I think we're all excited to keep moving forward. What are some of your personal and professional goals for the future?
To get to know students exactly like you and mentor them and learn things from students that kind of push me to keep imagining our world, imagining it as a more just and inclusive space. I feel like I've landed where I belong here. So it might sound really narrow, but I'm not thinking about any future at this point except how can I become part of this community at Fullerton, make relationships with people that might help them achieve things that they don't yet know are possible, and just really commit to this place and try to leave it even better and stronger, when that day comes.
Mm-hmm. And, I really like how you said you feel like you are where you're supposed to be. As a student who is about to graduate, it's kind of a little bit of an anxiety-inducing thought, okay, I'm entering into the real world now. And did you ever have thoughts of, oh my gosh, what if I don't like my career? What if I'm stuck there? And those are thoughts that I think all the time. And I'm curious if you've gone through that and any advice that you can give to students in that position.
Yeah. It's hard, I think it's, you think about well, because when you're little, right? Well, what do you want to be? And so it's this question oh my gosh, I could pick the wrong thing. I could make the wrong choice. And I think that it's really about taking a deep breath and understanding that the next thing you do is the next lesson for you to learn. And that there is a thing that comes after that. There are moments in life, in my experience, where you really do have two choices, and one choice turns out to be better than the other. But so much of it is just saying, I'm going to do that internship because I want to figure out if I'm interested in it. And then oh, I am or I'm not. Okay, well, now I know the next thing I want to do is this piece. And, even in graduate school, what I wanted to do, I went through 3 different ideas. I was going to be a private high school teacher, and then I was going to go into branding and marketing, and then I ended up going into academia because I ruled those things out. And then once even when I was a professor, I was kind of no, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in committee work. Oh, wait, there's this thing called administration. Oh, I could try that. Like, it's amazing that when you surround yourself with an interesting experience and just allow yourself to admit, do I want something else or do I want this?
Mm-hmm.
And then let yourself go. You know, when it's time to go, let yourself say, okay, what might come next after this? Who do I need to know? Who can I call? How can I do an informational interview? How can I learn about what it looks like to do what comes next? I think it takes some of the pressure off, because a lot of what we're experiencing now is just, it's your idea about the future, but then it's also quite practically what option is there.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Take it. Take the step and trust that on the other side of it are relationships and possibilities you won't be able to see unless you move.
Yeah.
Don't get paralyzed.
You have to be, what I'm hearing is you have to be flexible enough to see it, and it's not, nothing is fixed. It's, you know, you go there and then you evaluate, and then you go to the next step and evaluate, and it's having that faith in yourself to make the decision that you feel is correct in your gut.
Exactly. Like, think about who you were when you started college, and then the relationships that you've made and the choices you've made and the mistakes you've made, and how different you are right now. And we kind of think like jobs are somehow different. Like, okay, I need to find the job, my person right now, matched to the perfect job for me. But it's not like that. It's like you're still going to be evolving through jobs. And there is a point, I believe, where you do like actually find your match. Some people find it at 25, you know, I've found it at almost 50.
Yeah. That was actually very inspiring. I feel like I needed to hear that today. That was
good.
Thank you for that. Yeah. I really needed to hear that.
You're welcome.
That's all the time we have for today. A big thank you to Dr. Thomas for joining us this week.
Bye. And thank you to everyone that tuned in. Be sure to check out HSAC's YouTube page to catch up on previous podcasts, and make sure to follow hsac.csuf on Instagram and CSUF Honors on Twitter for updates.
I'm going to go do that right now.
Yes.
Awesome.
Asha and Alexis, and we will see you next time.
Okay.